magazine, and I am delighted to be joined today by Clare Dubois from TreeSisters, a brilliant charity, a global charity which is encouraging deforestation. I'll ask you all about it in a minute, Clare. But what I'm really excited to talk to Clare about today, they are launching a course tomorrow, The Courage to Shine, and all about stepping up into our feminine leadership and being able to lead and to become an activist. Really, that's how I see it. And I want to be grilling Clare all about how we do that and how do we step into our power in these very, very challenging times. Clare, welcome. Lovely to see you coming in all the way from California. Hello.
Bless you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit, first of all, before we talk about Courage to Shine, tell me a little bit about TreeSisters. Tell me a little bit about what your charity is all about.
Well, it's actually reforestation, not deforestation.
Yeah, sorry, yes, of course.
TreeSisters is a woman-led movement on behalf of the planet, essentially. It's looking at both, its uniqueness is looking at both inner and outer change. So we are a tropical reforestation organization. We're planting trees in the Atlantic rainforest of Brazil, the Amazon of Brazil, Kenya, Cameroon, Mozambique, Madagascar, India, Nepal, and West Papua. Our whole remit is around normalizing reciprocity. So we're here to try to make it as normal as consumption currently is, to embed restoration into everything so that we can make this really colossal shift that I think COVID is actually really pointing towards. That if you keep shredding our living systems, we're not going to make it. We all know about climate change, obviously, but we're less educated about the disruption of all the other natural systems which bring health.
Yes.
So this is about normalizing reciprocity, and at the practical level, that means everybody giving back every month rather than all consuming every month. It's like consumption and restoration. So we're embedding trees into everything, and we've just actually passed our 10 million tree mark this week, which is
congratulations.
Thing, actually, because I started this not knowing anything, not having a clue, just knowing that it needed to happen, and which actually really feeds into a courage to shine, because a courage to shine isn't necessarily about activism. It can be about activism. We need activism, but the journey that I've been on from, it actually started in a car crash. I had a car crash, crashed into a tree, or a tree stopped me going over an edge. And then I was literally given word for word the project. And it was, you have to reforest the tropics within 10 years. And I freaked out and said, I'm terribly sorry, no, I'm not going to do it. And then that same voice said, you have to mobilize the women. You have to make it as normal to give back to nature as it currently is to take nature for granted. Women have to remember who and what they really are. And feminine consciousness has to be reinstated, or it's over. Feminine consciousness being our capacity to relate and to listen to and to feel, because if we could feel our natural world as part of ourselves, we wouldn't trash it. And then I basically had to grow from being a roaring introvert and a completely socially inept person who had never even worked for an organization, I'd only ever worked for myself, to somebody that could run a global team, run a global movement, be a front person, be on stage. And it was hellish, frankly. But the journey from introvert to front person has been one in which I've had to gather a whole tool set of perspectives and processes and ways of dealing with my fear and crawling out over comfort zones in order to become the version of myself that can be genuinely useful in the world. And those tools are what I'm offering in The Courage to Shine, which starts tomorrow.
I mean, I think it's such an important piece that you're pulling out here. So to be a leader in the world, you have the invitation to, step up and lead wherever that comes from, be it from a car crash or just someone inviting you to do it at work. And then it's the inner work. What I love about what you're doing is that you've got the inner work and the outer work. So where do you start, when you have that invitation, or you think, I really need to do something, I want to step up? Where do you start on that journey?
You start with first fully allowing yourself to feel the longing. So it could be dissatisfaction that gets you going. It could be just complete frustration with the ineptness of the leadership in the world that gets you going. It could be somebody dumping trash in your front garden that gets you going. It could be anything that gets you going. And there's this impetus, like something pulls you forward. And if you are naturally called forward and you can move into action, great. If the impetus pulls you forward and then you hit instant internal resistance that says, I can't do it because what will people think, or what will my husband think, or I'll be laughed at, or I'll be rejected, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If there's a pushback, then there's work to be done. And the work to be done needs to start with, is that pushback actually a genuinely sensible thing that really is trying to keep me safe? Because if I, walk into the White House, God knows what will happen to me. Or is it old fear that has nothing to do with now, that is just perpetually sitting on my head, preventing me from bringing my gifts? Now, if you're female, which many of us are, we carry very insidious, old ancestral fear sitting in our blood because women have been treated in a particular way for a very long time, and it's had a strong effect on our psyches. Most of us are riddled with, I'm going to be too much, or it's dangerous to be visible, or I'm not enough. There's some form of fear from being conditioned away from our power and conditioned to be appropriate and what women are supposed to be, that has most of us with the lid on. And that lid ensures that we're bringing, 10% of our full power, or 15%? Maybe some people are up to 50. I know I'm not. And so we get to live in this kind of like half-life state of sort of rumbling dissatisfaction. And being honest about that is the first step. Like, are you really satisfied in your life? Do you feel fully given, fully lived? Are you able to really say no when you mean no? Are you really able to say yes when you mean yes? Are you crippled with fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of persecution, fear of, any kind? And is that preventing the fullest, most authentic expression of what is trying to live itself through you to come to the world? So I say to most people, the first port of call is honesty.
Yeah.
Can you be honest with yourself and acknowledge the fact, yes, you are happy, no, you're not happy. And if you're not happy, why not? And if you're not happy, where are you compromising yourself? And then how do you start to join the dots or move through the resistance that is old crap in your system that's basically clogging up your river? So, the courage to shine could be the courage to unclog your river. It could be the courage to say no when you say yes. It could be the courage to dare to bring your gifts because you've sat on them most of your life. It could be the courage to admit that you even have gifts because you've sat on them most of your life. So that's where you start. You start with honesty.
I mean, I suppose with all of those things, that for me, the biggest challenge is always fear. The fear of all of the, the ancestral fear, but also just the fear of making a fool of myself, fear of not being good enough, all of those things. And have you got any good techniques that you're going to be teaching in the course, which is all about how do we overcome fear in the moment? Do you know what I mean? When it, so you have that moment and it just literally stops you in your tracks, or stops you from writing, or stops you from speaking, or what? How do we deal with fear in the moment?
Gosh, there are many different ways. And yes, I will be talking about all sorts of ways of, essentially what I call this course is an inner alchemy course.
Yes.
It's alchemizing, which means transforming or liberating the energy that's stuck. So if you alchemize lead to gold, then if you think that fear is the lead, but actually it has the capacity to transmute into excitement, which you could call the gold, then it could be breath that you use. It could be, there's different techniques. The main thing is understanding that fear is a sensation rather than the stories that it's telling you.
Yes.
Because we have the sensation and we hate this sensation, whether it's fear or shame or, any of the ones that really like trip us up. Shame in advance of something that hasn't even happened, like, oh God, what if? How will I feel? It's better to just stay safe. We're going to be looking at all of these things as sensations, taking out the power of the story that we've attached to them. That's one of the most important things. And learning how to work with it so that you can actually move through it, because that fear, once liberated with breath or with conscious awareness or however you do it, liberates its energy into life force. So if you think of a river that's dammed up, so all the ways in which we've suppressed ourselves, we're the river, but
Yeah.
we're also the dams. Like, we've used our own energy to dam ourselves. So when you breathe through one of these areas that are stuck inside yourself, you don't just liberate the river that can run a bit faster or a bit truer to itself. You also liberate all the energy that's been stuck in those false beliefs that we've been carrying since childhood or before even. And so
it not only unblocks you in that area, but it unblocks you. That's definitely my experience, is when you start working on one part of your life, it affects all areas of your life. So in terms of you step up to leadership in at work, for example, and that you find your relationships massively improve. Yeah.
Because it's the river of you that you bring to your work. And if there's more water in the river because you've liberated a whole chunk of what was fear and held backness, that more of you now can feed into every area of your life.
Yeah.
So I'll just be teaching all the different tools that I've found most useful that can then be used in people's lives anywhere: relationships, work, health, money.
Yeah.
Basically, anywhere you're held back, you'll be able to pick up these tools and start working with them. And there'll be a lot of meditations in the course, guided meditations, which will be also standalone offerings afterwards. So you can literally pick and choose from all these different processes that we'll be trying out, which ones you can use ongoingly, which perspectives you can use ongoingly, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. I'm not coming in with the answers. I'm coming in with the gifts that I've gleaned in my life from becoming a front person, but I'm not sitting there saying, and now you have to become a front person.
Yeah.
Basically, this can help liberate you.
Yeah, this can help liberate you. Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost that you're creating a menu for people so you can kind of hold us as we go along, but they're kind of this menu of different kind of things that we can taste to see, okay, yes, that really works for me, that really doesn't work for me. Can I just ask you about the whole idea of feminine leadership and why, and what is that? I know you touched on it earlier, but why is it different? And why do we need it now?
Feminine leadership to me is, if you think about, this is where we get into really interesting territory. If you think about the feminine and the masculine as two complementary wholes, the feminine inside all of us is the receptive, relational, heart-based, instinctive, intuitive. It's the part that can merge with something and be in deep relationship with it. It's all about intimacy. The masculine then takes what is gleaned through the feminine in terms of our dynamic relationship with something and decides what it's going to do with it. So it builds, it creates, it structures, it leads. But if our world has suppressed the feminine principle, then essentially we're not in relationship with nature. We're not fully in relationship with each other. And so the masculine, when it looks at life, it can basically see a forest and just say that's standing timber. It doesn't have an emotional relationship with it.
Yeah.
Look at the ocean and say we're just going to use it and fill it with trash because it doesn't have an emotional relationship to it. And when I mean emotional, I don't mean, oh, how lovely. I mean, my body is made of rain and rivers and my body is also made of the oxygen that the trees create. And if I trash that thing, it's actually going to make me sick. So we've lost the felt experience that we are our environment. Feminine leadership is a leadership that arises from a connected place. That's what it means. It's not about being a woman, although as a woman, feminine leadership also includes, the wisdom of the heart and the wisdom of the womb, which are profoundly creative and relational aspects. So we have different sort of creative capacities than men do. Doesn't make us better or worse. It makes us complementary. If men will understand what women bring that is of value, and if women can understand what men bring that is of value, and we do that with it. So when we talk about feminine nature-based leadership inside of TreeSisters, the inner work that we're doing with women is a lot to do with helping women connect to their nature, their feminine nature as a part of nature, so that the decisions that they make arise from a connected place. Because if we're connected to nature, we will not trash it. We're disconnected from nature now, and so we're trashing it. And so the very last thing I heard in the car crash, feminine consciousness has to be reinstated or it's over. That's talking about human relationship to the natural world as part of itself. We are part of, we're not superior to and dominant over.
Yeah.
So why it's needed now is because if we don't shift our relationship with the natural world, we're not going to make it. If we do shift our relationship into one of reverence, respect, and reciprocity, we've got a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you're talking about the feminine and masculine principle. Do you feel that for me it's not just about, I mean, I know that's not what you're saying, but it's not so much about women, but it's about those energies. So the feminine energy and the mass. So if you are male, you can still find a way to access that energy as well. It doesn't exclude men.
No, I mean, it's absolutely radically important that men find their feminine and, and not consider it wussy or less than. What's stronger? Bawling your eyes out because something's impossible, or suppressing those feelings because you've been taught not to feel them. There is strength in emotionality and there is strength in non-emotionality. Like both have a place, but what's happened in our world is one has been deeply misunderstood and suppressed, and both have been distorted. So the masculine is not on his throne, and neither is the feminine, because these, one has lifted itself above the other and stood on the other. And so we've got a dominator masculine and a victim feminine that's been playing out for thousands of years. And the result of it is a trash planet. So masculine can understand that the feminine within him is sacred, and therefore all things feminine are sacred. And if the feminine can understand that the masculine is sacred, and the masculine inside her is sacred, and the two things can bring their uniqueness so that we learn to live in reciprocity with the natural world and the systems that we create, husband life into its fullest rather than just continue to degrade it. We need the masculine in ourselves to create an economy that does not depend on the death of ecology in order to thrive. We need an economy that is based on the restoration of nature if we're going to survive. We've got that capacity. We get to choose and create, but we need that consciousness of care to come back in so that life and future generations become the most important thing for us, and not just the perpetual creation of short-term wealth at the expense of everything.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. Well, it feels right and makes complete sense to me. And I think what I love what you're doing is that kind of inner and outer world, to start with the inner world and then to go out into the outer world. And I firmly believe that you can't do one without the other. So tomorrow you're starting the course, The Courage to Shine. What's the first thing that you will be sharing with your audience, with your course goers?
Tomorrow we do the foundational piece, and it's called The Ultimate Embrace, and it's looking at the single greatest alchemical tool that we have, being self-acceptance, which flies in the face of all the parts of ourselves that I hate that part of me. And it's like, well, if you continue to reject it, you're going to maintain it. Yes. And actually looking at self-acceptance as the way of calling the sort of fractured parts of ourselves back in, so that we can start to have a really conscious relationship with them. So that's tomorrow. Brilliant. And I just want to let everybody know, when you take this course, you are going to be planting trees, because you can't do anything inner in TreeSisters without doing something outer at the same time. So there's different price brackets inside of the course. There's 3 different prices, and there's scholarships as well, so everybody can join. But you'll be planting between 62 and 120 mangrove trees when you take this course. And mangroves are they're the most carbon-hungry trees on the planet, and they heal the oceans as well as, sucking carbon out and producing us with oxygen and all the other amazing things that they do. So this course is going to be deep, it's going to be edgy, it's going to be personal, it's going to be very supportive. You're going to be inside of a group. There's hundreds of people already there. Inside a group for 21 days of people who are committing themselves to moving beyond whatever fear or whatever restrictions are preventing them from stepping into a different level of leadership in their lives.
Yeah.
You can take any aspect of the course and take it into any aspect of your life. So this isn't about become an activist, but it could be. This is about how can we actually support each other with our collective energy to alchemize whatever's in the way so that you get to live the most authentic life that you can. And one of the really good reasons for doing it now is because whilst we're in COVID, whilst business as usual is completely disrupted, and by that not just the business out on the high street, but how we're relating to ourselves and how we're relating to life, everything is up for grabs right now. So taking a course that actively goes in to find what is authentic in you so that you can bring that to the world, it's really, really good timing, because the world is changing shape. So we've got a gap within which it's easier for us to access the stuff that's in the way. On the third session, there's 4 major sessions and there's bits in between. In the third session, we're dealing with free fall. How you deal with free fall when you go into a state of internal change. We're in global free fall. This is highly relevant. If it's freaking you out, we're going to be looking at how we actually deal with that and address that.
Yeah. And I mean, we're such fans of TreeSisters at Psychologies, and we love what you do. And this course sounds incredible. And as you say, that it's not, this is this weird time in history, and it's a place where you can create a kind of a place for self-development and to look at this. And this, I see with this course, it's a fantastic opportunity for people to really look at themselves and to do some huge growth here. I mean, I talked about activism at the beginning because a lot of what I'm hearing from a lot of my tribe, we need to do something. We need to step up. And that's the call I think I'm hearing in London anyway. It's like, enough already, enough. A lot of criticism about the leadership in the UK, and it's okay, but we need to do something, Yeah.
Try being under the leadership in America. Oh my God, it is insane over here. Well, yes. I mean, ultimately, the purpose of TreeSisters is to help women move from apathy and insecurity into radical activism. But that's not the sole reason for the course. I don't want people to think that it's only if they want to be an activist that they can come. Yes, it is absolutely about liberating life force, and I will always be pointing towards the activities that we can do in our world, because that's what TreeSisters is. It's a call to action on behalf of the natural world. It's a call to create the kind of world that gives our children a future. But in order to do that, you've got to get over your fear of having a go. And you've got to get over your fear of being judged or not knowing what you're doing. And that's why I feel like I've got the right to stand here and say I'm going to offer this course. Not because I'm a spiritual teacher, I'm not, but because I've painstakingly climbed over every fear that it's taken to go from being profoundly introverted into, not that I'm not an introvert anymore, but it doesn't stop me from getting up on a stage if I feel like I've got something to offer. And that's what we need. We need people who, when something rises inside them, aren't blocked from bringing it. We need them to be able to go, right, this doesn't work for me. I'm coming out and I'm doing something.
Yeah. And as you say, I mean, my kind of, I'm hearing kind of radical activism. And, I think this is, how do we do that? And here you're creating a course which says, here, this is how, unblock, get back into the flow, join with your sisters and brothers, and let's make a change, let's make a shift. Yeah, I love what you're doing, really love it. So fantastic.
Thank you. There's probably more men on this course than we've ever had on any TreeSisters courses before, which I'm thrilled about.
Yeah. I think it's about being, again, in relation. It's not about gender. To me, it's about, digging deep to find the power in the feminine. So absolutely.
And I want to end with one thought. It's like, if we are nature, which we are. There's no part of you that isn't made from this planet. Our planet is breathing with us in this moment. Well, our planet isn't a limited being. She's in space. Like, we're inside this unlimited cosmos of intelligence. All of that's available. We think we're limited beings, but we're not. That's part of our separation consciousness, that we're separate, we can dominate, all of that. It's all a lie. Like, we're not separate. There is a way of merging with nature that allows unlimited energy to come through you, but also intelligence. So, you know, every single one of us has the capacity to tune into an intelligence that knows exactly how to live in reality, in relationship with this world. We know exactly what solutions are needed that will take care of nature, because nature inside us can give us that way of being. Because she wouldn't have created this species that we are if there wasn't a way of living in relationship with everything else that nurtures all of life. Therefore, it's not about going out and trying to solve these problems with the same mindset that we've been in all this time. It's about tapping deeply into a different consciousness that arises from a connected place that brings forward only solutions that serve all of life. And that's the shift into the feminine, rising from a connected place. It is not just the inherited stuff in here, it's this. It's the heart-based, love-based, connected flow of truly authentic, reciprocal activity that serves life back into wholeness. And in doing that, we heal ourselves, we heal our relationship with each other, and we heal our relationship.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Claire. I found that so inspiring. Your course starts tomorrow, The Courage to Shine. The details are below, so please do sign up. Thank you again for your time today. Good luck with the course. Fantastic. Keep on leading, keep on shining, and keep on doing what you're doing.
Yes, come and do the course, woman.
I might do that. I might actually go and sign up now, actually. That's what I'm going to do.
It would be fantastic. So it starts at 7 p.m. UK time. It's live. It's not on Zoom because a lot of people are fed up of Zoom. It's just on instant teleseminar. So if you're just listening, it's audio. It will be recorded. There's a community on Mighty where all the content is going to be held. So if you miss it tomorrow, you can catch up in a few days' time or whenever it is that you can listen to it. But 21 days is the period of time that it takes to shift your mind. So it's short, it's intense, and it's worth it. So thank you so much.
You've sold me. I'm coming. I'm going to go and sign up now. Claire, thank you so much for your time today. This is the lovely Clare Dubois from TreeSisters, who is creating the course and leading the course tomorrow, The Courage to Shine. Lots of love and speak to you soon. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.